Hi everybody, I am back for a video. It's been a while, but obviously, some people might know I was studying for my boards, and that takes up a lot of time. For me, the type of studier that I am, I go overboard, and people say, you do too much, but whatever. Anyway, I can ramble. So just to give you a little background, I graduated with my BSN in May, and I passed my boards this week. I took them on Tuesday, and I found out I passed on Wednesday. So I am officially Nurse Brianna. I accepted a job offer at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, on a cardiothoracic surgical floor. And those of you who may not know or are new to me, I received a double lung transplant last June 24th, and I will be working with my transplant surgeon, which is super crazy but super cool, and I'm super excited. So I am basically get some allergies. Basically giving you an overview of how to pass your boards. I was always looking for a good video to kind of guide me through it, and I never really found one. I don't know if I'm just I want to learn on my own and learn the hard way, or if I just didn't find anything that suited me. So I know there are a million videos out there, but this is just another one. So I studied with one thing, actually two things. One thing was UWorld. If you all don't know, definitely get to know it. If you're a senior, and you're about to graduate, or if you haven't started studying for your boards, I mainly studied only with UWorld. And so every other year, it's been 75 questions as the minimum for you to pass. Now, granted, even if you do get 75 questions, that doesn't mean that you passed. It sometimes means that you did really bad, and they kind of cut off the test, and it's all right, you're not getting it, so we're just going to cut it off at 75. So I thought 75 was good until I realized that it's either you did really good or you did really bad. But this year they did it a little differently. They changed it to 60 questions, which is better, because I got a little question fatigued after 40, just because my brain was thinking so hard, that I'm so glad, so relieved that they didn't do 75 questions. Oh gosh, I don't even... Cheers to all you guys who did 75, but 60, when I got to 45, I was oh my gosh, please let me pass. But my nerves were really, really bad, and I'm that type of person where I don't know how to control my anxiety. So yeah. But anywho, UWorld, I 100% recommend it. That's all that I use besides Mark Klimek. He has audios and stuff that you can use. I did use him, so he wrote NCLEX questions for, Board of Nursing. So he knows what he's talking about, basically. And so I use UWorld mostly, and I always did the maximum 75 questions, always. Some people, they break down each system. I have to show you. Let me show you. I'm sorry for the glare, my vanity, but this is the best I can do. So this will be the main page. I go to create test. Here, let's go back. Okay, so that, and then I do tutor. I have that on. And then I do timed, I have that off. Just because you get 3 hours to take 60 to 75 questions, hopefully. So I kind of just don't do time. And then I do all. right here. That's all. And then I click next. It's hard to do this on a camera. Okay. And then I select all up here. And it does all. So it does fundamentals, adult health, child health, critical care, etc., etc. And then I click next. And then I click all systems. And that'll highlight all the systems. So respiratory, urinary, like all of them. So I did that. And then, and then next. And then obviously I click, 75 questions, done. And then generate test. So that's how it comes up. It gives you time, So basically that's how I did things. I did all systems. I did the maximum 75 questions. And then, all systems, all categories, everything. I just highlighted everything. I did all 75 questions. And then I would do that twice a day. So I would do 2 sets a day. And like when I really studied, like I'll show you, these are my 2 notebooks that I bought. This is my first one, and I actually show you. My handwriting sucks, but anyway, I used literally every single page. Like every single page. So what I did was when I would get the question, if you guys buy UWorld, this is the most important part. When I would get the question, read the question, see what pertains to the answer, what pertinent information, you know what I mean? So I would read the question and I would read the answers, and then I would, sometimes that's what they love to do. They love to throw in one where you're like, I think that might be right too. So you're like battling between like 2 answers. So sometimes when I was battling, and it was most of the time I was battling back and forth with, 2 answers, I would actually click the answer that I went with. If it was right, I would still write down the rationale. I would write down whatever notes that they had on there for me. If you go to UWorld, you'll see they'll have the answer, and then they'll tell you if it's correct or wrong, obviously, and then they'll have like the body systems or whatever explanations as to why the answer is right and why this answer is wrong. So what I did was I wrote down, if I was going back and forth between 2 questions, I would write down why this answer was right. I would write down why the answer that I was battling with, why that was wrong. And that really stuck in my head. And even when I would go, I was studying for a long time just because I never knew what was going to happen with me, if I was going to end up in the hospital or anything like that. So I had to be over prepared, and, I had to study longer than, other people. Other people study for a month. I studied on and off since March, and then I really, really studied like 2 weeks. No, I'm lying. The month of me wanting to take the exam. So I would get questions that were repeated and I seen already, but I would still write down the answer and I would still write down my notes. So I literally, in my notebook, I didn't even go back to look at my notes. I really didn't. I just kept writing the same thing over and over and over again, just so it could stick with me and not memorize the answer, but more so the concept and why the concept is right and why the other concept was wrong. So I had one book, and then I got a second book, and I used up a good amount, And yeah, so that's what I did for my note taking. And that would take me about, if I was to do, so I did all 75 questions, and my first set was probably like 4 hours, just because I would really read it and I would really, write down what was right and what was wrong. And then that would take me about 4 hours. I would take a little break, and then I would go back at it and do another 75, and that would be my day, like literally my whole day. And I know a lot of people, so for me, I've been out of work for a while. So yeah, I've been out of work for a while. So I had the luxury of being able to stay home all day and basically study. I know a lot of people don't have that, and a lot of people have lives and jobs and kids and all that, which I totally get. So you just have to manage your time, you know, for what you know you can do. Like if there are like, I think 2,000 questions, you just have to know like your days, you know, when you're going to be able to study for a day. And even if you can't just study for a day, just do 75 a day or whatever. I was able to do 75 twice a day, but as long as you're doing 75 a day, you're fine. Like a lot of people only get to 1,800 questions by the time they are, you know, taking their boards. Whereas me, I was lucky enough to do all my questions. So I was getting them repetitively. And the thing is, the NCLEX is just like to the T, just like UWorld, how it looks, the color, the screen, everything, the font, everything. It's just like UWorld. And it made me, and I know a girl told me, a lot of people told me it's just like NCLEX, and it honestly is. Like, the only thing with UWorld is they're straight to the point, whereas, and I think that's the thing, that's what they want to get, that's what they want you to get, is like, you got to get the point. That way, so when they give you a question that makes you critically think, you're like, okay, I remember this point from UWorld. How can I apply it to this question? And it's all about critical thinking. It really is. Like your meds, I think I only got like 2 med questions. I got 1 EKG question, 1 math, but mostly it was all safety. I didn't get any delegation. A lot of the people last year got delegation and I didn't get any. So I got a lot of safety and prioritization. That's a big, big thing. You need to prioritize what patients you're going to see first. And you need to prioritize, and you need to know what is safe for the patient and what's not. Like that's all they really want you to get. So honestly, when I was taking my boards, I was like going back and forth with a lot of questions, and I went to 61. The minimum is 60, and when I hit that 60 and it went to 61, I was like, but the last question was easy. So I think that's they really just want to make sure that you're safe, and as long as you get half of the questions right, they'll keep giving you a chance. Like if you're on borderline, they'll keep giving you a chance to to redeem yourself. So as long as you redeem yourself, and as long as you're getting the concept and the critical thinking based off of UWorld and what concepts UWorld has, and UWorld goes over everything. It was very broad. It wasn't like one subject and another subject. And the reason why I didn't split up my UWorld was because my first month I did cardiac, literally all cardiac, and I realized I'm wasting too much time on cardiac. There's so many systems, there's so many, you know, subjects. I was wasting way too much time, whereas I added everything and I was learning everything as I went. So that's why I did, you know, all systems, all subjects at once. And you always do the maximum questions, because you are going to be sitting there for about, let's see, my test started at 8 and I finished at like 9:15. So you're going to be sitting there for a while, and you just want to make sure that you are not going to be question fatigued. That's why you really want to do all 75 questions. I got a lot of advice from a lot of people, and a lot of people say UWorld, and I agree. They will give you the ATI free. It's mandatory for, well, it was mandatory for my school. But they'll give you a free live review for 3 days from 9 to 4. And we had to do that. I didn't really use that. They give you an ATI book, but I didn't really use it. I was just all UWorld. And it helped. It really did. And it made you feel more comfortable when you were taking the exam, just because it looks just like UWorld. But I would suggest UWorld and Mark Klimek to help you with your studies. So, yeah, Mark Klemick. Let's see what else. UWorld, try to do UWorld. You can never really, well, this year was hard for us because there weren't many sites that were open, so you had to go really, really far if you wanted to get a seat early. So you want to start maybe like a month or two, and do questions every day. If you feel like you have other obligations that you need to do, instead of, focusing on it at least 3 or 4 times a week, if you have other obligations, then I would try to do it a little bit further out and just do a little bit at a time. But everybody's different. You just have to see how your life is and how your study habits are. I personally recommend UWorld. All questions, all subjects, 75 questions. Mark Klemick, he has audios. Get a notebook, write down the rationale, write down why it's right, write down why it's wrong, write down notes that they give you. Do all of that. And yeah. So boards are really just like a mental thing. I know for me it was a mental thing because I was freaking out. Like, my friends know. Like, I was literally freaking. My husband knows. I was freaking out. And I was just like overdoing it. Oh, never study the day of. Just because you don't want to like overload everything. You kind of just want to, give your mind a break. The day before, night before. I was hard-headed and I actually did a 75 before I went in there. But honestly, it's not gonna do anything. It isn't. I don't even remember the questions that I did, before I went in. But yeah, and I prayed a lot. I prayed that God would give me the knowledge, and he did. Also, one big thing, big thing. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but there is this thing called the Pearson View trick. I learned from my uncle's wife, Gabrielle, and a couple other people, but she was the one who told me about it originally. So the Pearson View trick is real. You can Google it. It does work. So you basically have to take your boards. You'll get a certain email. I think it's an email where it says, now that you've taken your boards, do you have questions? So once you see that email, I would wait like an hour after, and you would go and you would try to re-register for your boards. Use a fake credit card, not a fake credit card, but like use a card that doesn't have any money on it, or that you just mess up like the expiration date. And just because if you use a real credit card and you failed, you're paying $200 right then and there, and you can't get it back. So if you do have the $200 and you're fine, then go ahead and use your card. But if not, use use another card, use like a different expiration date. And then when you go and you re-register, there will either be a payment that's processed, and unfortunately means that you didn't pass. But if you do get a pop-up, it's called the good pop-up. If you Google Pearson View trick, and it's like a page about it, Nurse Jax or something, JAX. You just go and you re-register, and if you get the good pop-up that says, our records indicate that you have taken this exam, there's no further availability to take it, that means you passed. And that's what I did. So you have to submit it, because that's what I didn't do. I didn't submit it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I failed. But you have to submit it, and then the good pop-up will come up, and that means you passed. And the bad pop-up or no pop-up, where they try to process your payment, means that you didn't pass. But for that, like, honestly, it sucks. It doesn't feel good, I'm sure. But it's not the end of the world. You just go right back at it. You study. you study, and you just go harder. Like, just don't even let it, take a week off and kind of like regroup and, get your, tears out or your frustrations, but you just got to go back and you got to do it again. It's never an easy thing. Nursing is not easy, but it's not the end of the world. You just went through 4 years of school and you just got to pass 6 exams. It's just a critical, I could say it's just a critical thinking, because critical thinking is kind of hard. But you just have to know the content, and you have to know why that content is right and why this content is wrong. And that's pretty much what they want you to realize, the rationale, as they call it. The rationale for an answer. And they also want you to see, okay, well, what's more important? You know what I mean? Like, they teach you in school the ABCs and stuff like that. That's a whole nother other thing. But I just wanted to say, like, if you didn't pass or if you're scared, just prepare yourself. You can only prepare yourself as much as you possibly can. Don't slack, but just prepare yourself and just do your questions and make sure you give it your all. Give it as much as you possibly can, because it's just one exam and then you're done. You're literally done. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But for everybody who didn't pass, and for, people who are discouraged, honestly, like for me, I just know that nothing can defeat me but me. You know what I mean? Like, this test is just a test. Like, you can go back and you can do it. And everything that will be meant to be. There are ICU nurses, there are great nurses that didn't pass the first time, but that's just a piece of dust in the wind right now. They're changing lives. And if you failed or if you feel discouraged, that won't matter once you get your license and you can start working. So just don't feel discouraged. And I really hope that, you'll take this video and just take words of encouragement that not everybody's perfect, and just because you failed the first time, that doesn't mean you're any less of a nurse. I've heard that a million times when I thought that I was going to fail and people were giving me advice. You're not less of you're not less of a nurse just because you didn't pass the first time. You're always gonna remember that I went through 4 years of school. I'm not gonna let this test, it's a beast, but I'm not gonna let this beast, overtake me. So thank you for watching, and congratulations to everybody that graduated. Good luck to everybody who's going to take their exams. Good luck to everybody who's getting their green light. That's another thing. You got to get your green light before you can do your boards. But so yeah, just keep pushing. And congratulations to everybody who is a licensed nurse now. I hope you go out and you make changes, and you just make everybody feel comfortable, and have pride in what you do and love what you do. You're going to be tired, you're going to be weak, you're going to be fatigued, you're going to be frustrated, but just remember everything that you went through, and just know that 4 years of nursing school is hard, but it sets you up for real life. So I'm planning to do more videos now that I'm not studying for my boards anymore. I'll definitely be doing videos about my orientation at Johns Hopkins, which I'm so excited about. I actually got denied for 3 residencies in one hospital, and this is another thing, I was so hurt, and my husband was like, just apply to Hopkins, and I'm thinking to myself, Hopkins, they're not even gonna So anyway, I seen the cardiothoracic surgical floor, and I was like, maybe I'll do it. And I didn't even think I was gonna get a call back. I was applying to other places, and they called me back, and they hired me that day. She sent off my stuff that day. So even though I got denied for 3 residencies, it's never the end of the world. So just keep pushing. Congratulations. And I hope you all go out into the world and make it a better place. Thanks for watching. Bye.